Welcome to the Pool Nation podcast, where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo, Edgar De Jesus, and his co-host, John JJ Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and Zac the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Welcome, everyone, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. I am your host, Edgar De Jesus, and yes, I am the reigning champion of Marco Polo, along with John JJ Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and the famous Zac the Pool Boy Nicholas. Today, we're talking to Tim Moore and Jim D'Angelo with US Motors and Nidec. Well done.
Excellent.
But before we do that, I want to welcome everyone to our live podcast, a podcast where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. And yes, we will talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. But before we get started today, I want to thank our visionary partners for this podcast, the SPPA, Blu-ray XL, Aquastar Pool Products, Natural Chemistry, Raypack, Heritage Pool Supply, Hayward Pool Products, Poolside Tech, Pool Brain, Nidec.
Well done again.
John, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm actually
You're doing great.
I am doing great, actually, and I'm very excited. It's been a rough couple days, and yesterday was tough with the flight and my whole travel time. And towards the end of the day, it was like around 9 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. I literally could not keep my eyes open, but I went to bed nice and early, and I woke up today like at 5:30 in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I'm ready to rock and roll. And
awesome.
I'm feeling great, and I'm excited to get the guys in the studio here talking about the Neptune motor and what Nidec, right?
Nidec,
right?
Let's get that right
for us here. No, yesterday was awesome. It was the photo shoot that we did. We did some pretty amazing videos that I'm excited about. I can't wait for us to get it uploaded onto our Poolman University app. Some really good educational stuff. Good quality information from Jim about some of the laws or the law that went into effect or is going into effect later on this year. Tim did an amazing job talking about the pump and all its features. I sat there and, I pride myself with doing a little bit of research and learning a lot about the product. And there was a lot of good stuff that I didn't know about it either, and got me even more excited about it and wanted to talk about it so that we can share it with our viewers so they know some of the possibilities at this pump and what Nidec did.
John,
yeah.
It's a replacement motor. It's not the whole pump.
I keep saying that. I guess maybe that's just the way I look at it, right?
But as a pool pro, if you think about it, with what you're doing, right,
motor.
You're replacing the motor, you're turning that into a variable speed pump. You just automatically
I understand.
think,
it's
it really
tomato,
is.
tomato, but I guess for a lonely pool pro or tub scrubber like myself, that's how I talk about it.
Yeah.
But technically, yes, it is a motor, and we're turning that pump into a variable speed.
Bingo.
With a motor.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to call a motor a pump, and you certainly won't be the last.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like maintenance or service,
Right.
and the difference between it, I guess, whatever. One couldn't be with the other without the other.
right.
So my apologies. Yes, it's motor.
See, just right off the bat. I'm glad that you took the heat early and not me.
You know what's funny is I was fully prepared today because of the way, and for all our friends out there listening, and we're emphasizing the word, we're saying Nidec because people commonly call it Nidec, which is wrong, and we did that at the very beginning too, and we're corrected, but Edgar continues to say Nidec instead of Nidec. So I was prepared to jump
be the
on
one.
you. Yeah, right, to make fun of you today, and then I'm the one who gets laughed at, right? Because I'm calling it a pump instead of a motor.
That's what you get.
But that's karma, baby.
That's
right?
karma. That's karma.
I'm getting it.
Of course, I'm not going to say over here that I spelled out knee like a knee deck so that I wouldn't screw it up. But what's going to happen is, and I'll let you guys call me out, I'm sure in conversation my brain's going to go and I'm going to call it the wrong thing. I'm going to apologize now for that. Is that okay?
I will also apologize in advance.
Yeah, because you're going to correct me.
No, it might come out of my mouth as well. So,
It will not come out of my mouth.
It won't come out of yours?
Guaranteed.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So anyways, Tim, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're excited to have you.
Excited to be here. Couldn't be more excited about the opportunity to work with the Pool Nation group.
Thank you. John and I, not just John and I, but we always get excited when we get to talk to people I don't want to use the word geek because it's not, but they're like super, super duper knowledgeable about something, and it's from like A to Z, and they can talk through it. And that's when we kind of enjoy it because we go down these rabbit holes, right, that we normally don't get. And there's people in the industry that knowledge is it's just there. And talking to you yesterday, and we were talking about it last night, we were really, really excited because, man, that knowledge is there.
Look, let's take it a step further because it's not just that, because there's a lot of people that know things, but it's one thing to know something and it's one thing to just spew out like passion about it, right? So it's a completely different thing. You not only understand the product and you know it, right? But when you speak on it, it's like, okay, people are listening, you're very passionate and you truly love what you're doing. And unfortunately, and I'll be honest, that's a rarity sometimes.
It is.
And we need more of that. So somebody who truly... I'm sold, right? And I'm sitting there going like, wow, I want one. Let me have two of them. From the second I met Tim, right, yesterday, and he was just off to the races talking about it, right? Passionate. And I look at Jeannie, I go, well, let's buy a couple right now. I need to have them right now. But we just want to thank you because it feels good because we're equally as passionate about what we do and about education in the industry. And when we bring people on to see that same passion, is just comforting to see that. And we're excited that everybody's going to get to hear your passion come through today.
I appreciate that. We have some neat opportunities out there for everybody. And I look forward to the time talking to you about it.
Awesome. Jim, good morning.
Welcome. Happy to be here. Excited to be here. One of the things that Tim and I have talked about for the past several years is educating and training and educating and training. And boy, we couldn't have picked a better partner to be with here. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
And I do want to add, Tim has been with us, Nidec, U.S. Motors, for 28 years.
Yep.
And there's a reason why he's been here that long, because he is passionate. He is knowledgeable. He knows this market like the back of his hand. And I can't thank him enough for what he's done for us and what he continues to do for us.
And while our relationship with John and Edgar is just growing from here on forward, my relationships with other service guys is the reason that I know what I know. I try to keep my ears open. I try to listen to what they want and then try to make sure that the engineers create a platform upon which they can apply those thoughts. And the Neptune motor, it's a first generation variable speed motor. There'll inevitably be a 2.0 and a 3.0 version. But as we'll talk through today, we have a fantastic motor that's going to be able to be applied and installed in all sorts of different backyards.
Excited about that.
Yep.
John, let's get through some housekeeping notes here really quick, and then we'll jump in. Hey, everybody, I want to thank everybody that went out to the PEP boot camp. And by the way, U.S. Motors was out there. Big shout out to our boy Will that we brought out there and had a great time with him out there. The other thing is the Pool Nation nomination night is Wednesday, August 20th. And by the way, nominations for the Pool Nation Awards close this coming Wednesday. So get out there, nominate. And then from there, we roll right into the Women's Summit, which is going to be the 21st and the 22nd over at Heritage. We have some big things that are going to be announced at the Women's Summit. Stay tuned. And then from there, we go into the $10,000 Pool Pro Challenge, October 22nd at the PSP Expo, the Pool Nation Awards, October 23rd. And then we will be doing the Pool Nation Conference on October 24th and 25th at the PSP Expo out there. We're really doing a big, huge focus on the business side and really setting up that Pool Nation Conference to really be the only business conference for the pool pros out there. And so we have a great lineup of classes. And John, I want to talk about them really quick, just to go through them and just let everybody know what it is that we're doing. But we're going to have a 2-day track on business classes. And the first class that we're going to do is really turning pools into profits, right? And really how to build a business and not just a route. How do we take the pool pros through that journey from the beginning?
And next, we're going to be going into turning metrics into money, what your financials are telling you. And basically, it's just stop guessing and start leading with data. It's going to help you unlock hidden profits so you can start making better business decisions.
Yeah, and from there, we go know your costs and know your profits, right? And the number one question that we get is, how do we do that mathematical equation to be able to figure out how much money we're making? And we're going to break that down very simple for all the pool pros. We'll have some Excel sheets so that they can crunch through those numbers and figure out what those are.
And then next, we're going to get into financial planning and exit strategy, how to build value and prepare for the future. Plain and simple, it's creating a business that runs without you. Plan your exit terms or your exit strategy and not run into a situation where something happens and you don't have a plan, so you know where you want to be and where you're going to be 5 years down the road.
Yep. And there for day one, we close with Profit is Not Cash, really teaching the pool pros about cash flow and how to manage that cash flow and how important that is, especially for those that are going into the scaling and the empire phases in order to be able to grow their businesses.
And then starting off day 2, it's going to be talent lifecycle. It's going to help build skills and business success by unlocking your full potential and your teams by mastering the talent lifecycle. So plain and simple, just learning to harness the talent that you have within you so that you build a strength-based organization and get your people working.
Then from there, we're going to developing high-performing teams, right? And really the success of your business starts with your people. And it's really how to build, lead, and inspire performing teams.
And then next is going to be the power of partnership, cultivating true collaboration in your team, teaching you that collaboration isn't just about working together, it's about working smarter together.
Yep. And there we go into time management strategies, right? And I think that's something that everybody at every level needs, but it's really going to introduce everybody to the practical time management, how to prioritize, how to set your day, and how to be able to achieve everything that you've got going on.
And then we're going to end it fittingly with driving results through accountability, because accountability is the engine of performance. And if you don't hold yourself and your people accountable,
ain't going nowhere.
Not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere.
Nothing's happening.
So that's the business track that we have out there. We are going to have a technical class where we are going to do water chemistry, startups, acid washes, all that fun. It'll be a 2-day track. We do have the 1-day hands-on, which you guys will be part of. We're kind of looking forward to that again.
Absolutely.
And Will, in case you're listening, big shout out to you again. He's a big partner of ours now.
I take it he should be there. Right?
He's going to be there. He was enjoying it. So big shout out to Will.
Request.
Yeah. So we said, don't worry about it. We're going to put in the request and you're the go-to guy. So anyways, let's get started with this podcast.
Fantastic.
All right. Tim, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. 56-year-old white male.
This isn't a profile here.
Oh, sorry. Wrong podcast.
I think your girlfriend's going to be like, wait, now I need to listen where this is going because this started off wrong.
All right.
I was hoping he was going to say taken.
Now, how did I get into this industry is what I imagine you're asking. Yes. So my parents put in an in-ground swimming pool. I grew up in southern Arizona, and my parents put an in-ground swimming pool in 1979. And I watched the whole construction from the dig to the rebar to the gunite to the plaster. I was the startup guy. I remember brushing the tile line to the main drain for the first 28 days, every single day, priming the vacuum hose, vacuuming it. And then after the first 30 days, I said to my dad, that's it. The startup's done. And he said, no, every day. And for years of my life, whether there was a leaf, a stick, or it looked perfectly clear, that's what I did almost every morning of every day before school. I was a competitive swimmer. I became a lifeguard. And after graduating college with a strong liberal arts degree, I went to work for a local retail store and worked there for a couple years. That was probably one of the more pivotal moments in my career because we had a shop in the back. And I had an old timer that worked there, cigarette hanging from the mouth, ashtray filled, needed to be dumped out yesterday. And he taught me everything about tearing down a motor, doing bearing jobs, replacing it, what could be fixed, what couldn't be fixed. Then I got into distribution, which really broadened my scope for the entire industry and really helped widen the education that I had. But I met a guy there that had a motor repair shop. Yeah, and we'd stay up all night partying and working on motors, and one thing led to another, and then I was working as an independent salesman, and with some of the legacy motors that are in the industry and still used in the industry today. And for the last 28 years, I've been an independent rep working for electric motor companies, and I'll be honest, for 26 of those 28 years, I didn't need to know much about a motor. You guys opened it up in the box, you hooked it up to high voltage, it either worked or it didn't work. It either worked for a certain period of time or it didn't work for a certain period of time. And now with this upcoming DOE laws and addendums that are happening, every motor is going to have a computer on it. How that computer functions and how those functions adapt to everything in all the equipment pads in the industry has really gotten me fired up, and it's gotten me to open up my ears, listen to you service guys, figure out what the problems are in the industry, what the bugaboos are about this DOE conversion. California's been dealing with it forever, but the whole rest of the country, Puerto Rico included, is now have to deal with this reality. And it's been fun to start the education, get out and help everybody figure out and solve all the problems that they thought they were going to have when this date comes and variable speed is the norm.
You could see the passion right there.
100%.
And it's funny because it's like we've had somebody else. You remember the other person that did the same thing when they did the pool build and they got into it young and they went through the whole build process and all that kind of stuff. Do you remember who that is? Steve Barnes.
Oh, it was Steve Barnes.
Remember?
See, look, my memory is bad. And if anything, I'm jealous because we were even having a conversation with Tim yesterday and he was telling me about his first day in preschool and he remembered what happened. And I'm like, I don't even.
Photo day, but yes.
Yeah.
First day, it was photo day.
Photo day and about smiling, right? And how to smile and the tips that he got from his Nana or. So as far as like memory wise, I'm like an old VHS tape now. I'm sharp with what I need to remember and what I remember, but over time, you just have to rewrite over the tape and just forget, right? So
just to let you know, you said VHS. You said VHS, and you lost half of our audience. We're like, "What is VHS? What is he talking about?"
Yeah,
He could have said beta.
could have said beta, and I didn't want to go that far. But
You just dated yourself.
VHS. I'm like an old security camera VHS tape, right? You know what I mean? I've been rewritten over many, many times.
But no, it tells you, and you see certain patterns and the knowledge that he has on this that he does is just. You're going to see. I enjoy these conversations.
Thank you.
So, Jim, let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, and how you ended up here.
Well, I must have about, 30 seconds left now? That one?
Right.
Time's up, Jim. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Tim, let me ask you. No, I'm just kidding.
I am a happily married man for quite a while now. I have 5 children, 4 boys and a girl. Live in Wisconsin. Not exactly the pool capital of the world.
Yeah.
I think we have, 1 week in the season? Maybe it's 2 weeks, the week before the 4th and the week after the 4th.
Yeah.
Right? I started with the U.S. Motors in 1987, so I'm going on my 39th year now with the company. And I was an engineer for a few years, got into marketing, and it was basically shortly after what I will call a failed attempt at getting into the pool aftermarket. And they brought myself and another gentleman on, and we started working with engineering, and we came up with a motor that we launched primarily in Florida. And then from there, I became the market manager. And then from there, I'm now the national sales manager, and I've been doing this for several years. I've had the great fortune working with many wonderful sales professionals. And of course, you've already met Tim in depth. He has certainly been with us the longest, and he is a very passionate person. And we've got many good sales representatives, but I put Tim right up there with any of them. So happy to be here.
Oh, that's awesome.
So a lot of pool pros out there know brands in the industry, and usually most people gravitate toward the big 3 and anything else. It doesn't really come frame of mind or first in mind. Nidec is somewhat new to them, or honestly, for me too, just recently, it's been new, right? The name. But through our conversations and through obviously doing some research and understanding who Nidec is and who U.S. Motors is, you guys are massive, huge company, and not just for the pool industry. So if you can, let's talk a little bit about it and let our viewers know and let the pool industry know who exactly Nidec is and U.S. Motors is and what you do not only for the pool industry, but for the world.
It certainly is a global company, and by most people's measures, it's probably relatively new in terms of the familiarity of the name, but it's quite honestly been around since 1973. It was started up in the garage by 3 gentlemen in Japan. They had an idea, if you will, that turned into a technology. And I give everybody the example, if you own a cell phone, if it's ever vibrated before, it is undoubtedly a Nidec motor that's in there that's causing it to vibrate. And every time I tell people that story, they're amazed at, and you can imagine how many cell phones are out there, right? So they're amazed by that. So we make them that small, and we make them pretty darn big too. Wastewater, a lot of water pumping. We're big into that. Motors, I always tell people, small as a nickel and as big as a Volkswagen, pretty much, at that point. Big as a big car, a sedan, whatever. Agriculture, if anybody's out in your farm fields and you see those big irrigation systems that pivot off a point, that's undoubtedly a U.S. motor that's out there, not just operating that, but also sending the water out there. Out on golf courses, we have the irrigation system motors that are operating there too. So HVAC, we're huge in that. Been around for, I want to say, in the neighborhood of 120, 130 years now as a whole. But Nidec purchased U.S. Motors back in 2010. And coincidentally, that was the very first year that we introduced a variable speed motor. And it has evolved into what now is the Neptune motor. And as Tim mentioned, version 1.0 is out there, and we're already working on the next generation. So
So how did U.S. Motors become part of that? They just bought the U.S. Motors division?
Yeah, exactly. U.S. Motors is a really old company that goes back into the early 1900s. And yeah, Nidec purchased them in 2010 and incorporated them into the family, as well as several other motor divisions, if you will, that we have. While Nidec might be headquartered in Japan, our main central headquarters for what we do, not just the pool side, but the rest of U.S. Motors, is actually in St. Louis. But we do manufacture just over the border in Mexico. That's where the majority of our motors are built today, as well as in the States. A lot of the big stuff is built in Arkansas. And so, like I say, it's a global company. We're everywhere.
Yeah, it was amazing yesterday while we were having the conversation, right? I think it was, God, like you guys were saying, like how many motors are in houses. And I just never even thought of it. And we're driving home and I'm just sitting in the car going, oh, they're here. I'm like, holy crap. You don't think of it. You don't think that motors are everywhere. And then as soon as you started talking about the cell phone, that's the first thing I did. I looked at my phone and I go, holy crap, there's a motor in there, right?
The automotive industry, motors that make your car seat move back and forth. Those are motors that we make.
You know, we tend to look at something and we say, oh, here's a phone, here's Apple, or here's a car, it's Ford, or whatever it may be. But inside the components, there aren't manufactured by Apple, and there's separate components in there. And how it's fascinating to see how a company like yours and other companies as well is so integrated in our lives, and we just don't even know it. It's like flying under the radar. You're just this huge motor company that nobody, or at least, and I looked at it, and it just nobody really knew about or knew the impact that you had on everybody. And it was just fascinating to hear everything. That's pretty amazing. Actually.
One of my favorite stories from a show that we did was in Atlantic City, one of those big shows that we do. It was right after we had been purchased by Nidec, and we had a booth where they made us put Nidec in the brochure. So, you know, when you're looking through the brochure and you're looking for U.S. Motors, or another brand name that we might use, and what we might actually had in our booth. No one could find us because they're looking for U.S. Motors or the other brand name, but here we are listed as Nidec. Like 3 or 4 different names. We didn't know what to call ourselves in the beginning. You know? I think we're pretty much settled on Nidec U.S. Motors now. So.
Nidec, pretty much, right? You normally say Nidec, right? Nidec / U.S. Motors. It's almost like you don't say two separate. It's almost like that's the one name.
Yeah. It's a brand, obviously, U.S. Motors, but we do combine them together now.
Yeah. Now, Tim, do you get to go over to Atlanta and go to the plants and all that kind of stuff?
I can if I want to, but I normally stay out in the field trying to work with most of the customers out in the field. And I let the engineers do what they do. I let the software people do what they do. The plant does their production, and the warehouse ships as they ship. And they're all in different locations. So you can't actually necessarily go to one spot and hit all of the logistics of the company because of the size of the company.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's good to hear. And you touched on it at the beginning, and I think it's something that's very important. You said how you take the feedback from the people in the field, the ones that are actually the end users, the ones that are actually using it and operating it. And you take that feedback and you feed it back to the engineers so that they can change it. Because the reality is this, I mean, it's frustrating sometimes as a pool professional or as somebody who actually uses a product, and maybe on paper in a perfect laboratory setting, everything seems like it works fine. But when you start to throw in these variables that you might not be experienced with because you're not out there doing it, if you don't take the feedback from the people that are actually using it, it's hard to really create a product that works well in all situations. So that's very promising and encouraging to hear that you guys are doing that. And it shows, again, was thoroughly impressed with the capabilities of what this new motor has to offer and what it can do. We're not ones to peddle products or to sit there and say rah, 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 just because you guys are our partners. No, it's impressive what it has to offer and what it can do. And it's something that we're going to be using as a tool, and we're going to be able to bring out and benefit from it as well, our service company. So,
and we talk about it, right? It's interesting to see such a big company because you guys are huge, right? Let's not kid ourselves. Nidec is freaking humongous, right? But a lot of times what we see is that the only ones that could do that are the smaller companies because they can pivot easily and they can do all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we were having a little bit of that conversation last night. It's interesting to see such a big company like yours, and then how much you guys are in the trenches with the pool pros. And we'll talk about Casey and we'll talk about all that kind of stuff and everybody that's giving you the feedback. But the fact that you guys are going all the way down into the trenches and getting that feedback and going back and going, no, we need to change this. No, we need to do this. That's what really speaks to the pool pro, because at the end of the day, and I know it's not easy to grab something and make a lot of changes to it. There's a whole process of engineers and manufacturers and all that.
It's like taking a cruise ship in the harbor and expecting it to move out of the harbor like a speedboat.
Yeah.
It takes a few minutes to adjust. But once we get rolling, watch out. We're in full cruise mode.
Yeah.
I'll expand on both of what you've all said. We have sales representatives that are out in the field. They're the eyes and the ears of everything that's going on out there for us. I'm simply an amplifier at this point. I take the information that they give and I go back to, obviously Tim does too, but we go back to engineering and marketing and we say, listen, this is what we need to do. This is something we need to fix. This is something we need to change. And we feel really passionately about it. Obviously, some people are more passionate than others, but we feel really passionate about it.
Blame the guy with too much passion, right?
But that's how I see my job. I mean, I do a lot of things, obviously, for the company, but that is what I do working with the sales team. And I really enjoy that part of it.
Hey, I said I was going to do this, and you see what just happened is we get into a little bit of a geeky conversation, and we've been doing the podcast now for almost 20 minutes, and I've forgotten about everybody that's online here. So
please welcome everybody.
So Arian, big shout out to you. Let me give a couple shout outs out here. Barstow Pools is on there. Big shout out to you out there. Alexa, J-Dog, what's going on? OC Pool Solutions, Phil, what's going on? SCP in San Jose, Mr. Chris Marcano. Martin, big shout out to you out there. Only Pools, 858 Pools, what's going on? Our boys over at Cali Pool Techs. Joyce, big shout out to you out there. Andy, shout out. Kevin Bobo, what's going on? Elvisa, big shout out to you out there. Our girl Lacey, which is going to be over at the Women's Summit. Big shout out to you out there. The Grit Game. The Valley Pool Busters, what's going on? Pure Swim Pools. Mr. Brian Cresson, what's up, brother? Happy birthday. By the way, his birthday truly was on Monday, and I have a feeling nobody called him and told him happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Happy birthday, Brian.
So we tease Brian, and every time there's a live or something, somebody says happy birthday. So he's had 350 birthdays this last year.
He's one old dude.
And his birthday truly was on Monday. So it'd be interesting. Brian, let me know how many people call you. Hey, Mejia Bear, what's going on? Coastal Cactus, what's going on? Big shout out to all you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. So sorry, John.
What I want to get into next is let's talk about the new DOE standards and the wave of regulation that is going to be hitting the rest of the country at the end of the year.
I guess we probably take it back to when it really started.
Yeah, we should.
And California was a big part of that, obviously, back in the early 2000s when they really started pushing everything, mandating as best they could, everything to be variable speed. And the rest of the country, I think, stood back and watched to see how that would go. And then eventually, was it July 18th of 2021, I believe was the magical date, was the last day that pool pump manufacturers could manufacture single and two-speed pumps in that 1.15 THP up to 5 horsepower or 5 total horsepower. But when they did that, they did not incorporate replacement motors into that either. So it was really just pool pumps at that point.
At that point, they had just said just the whole pump. If you had to replace the motor, it was left out of the conversation.
It was like a loophole.
Oh, that's a big loophole.
Huge.
And so I believe that those manufacturers worked hard for the next several years to try to develop an addendum, I guess we call it, to the DOE rule. That's what we're coming upon right now on September 29th, which is, what do we say today, 59 days to go?
59 days as of today.
59 more days till we, as a motor manufacturer and other motor manufacturers, need to cease our production of single and two-speed motors that are definite or dedicated pool pump purpose in that 115 THP up to 5 total horsepower. And not only do we have to stop making, they have to actually be in the States by September 29th. At that point, things start to transition over to the variable speed side. That all being said, as long as they have been built prior to that date, we can still sell them and ship them as long as we have them, as well as dealers, service folks, distributors, etc. As long as they're in your stock, you can sell them, buy them, install them, whatever. And it just goes on until they're gone. And then once they're gone and everything is transitioning over to variable speed, in our case, the Neptune.
Yeah, it's funny. We were having this conversation yesterday. Us being from California, we've been accustomed to this for many years, right? We've been used to this. And I know that some of our listeners or some of our people that are listening or are from California are going to be like, why are you guys talking about variable speed? It's like a new thing, right? You know? But it really is going to be for the rest of the country. It's like what happened to us in California years ago is now taking effect for the rest of the country. And it's going to be a rude awakening. And this time it's going to be where you literally will not be manufactured. You cannot make them anymore after that date. And you have a choice. And when it comes down to replacing motors or replacing a pump, you have to go variable speed in these cases. So that's why we're excited about doing this podcast, excited about getting this information out, and really excited about the solution that you guys have to offer, because putting a new pump or putting in a new motor isn't very cheap. It's expensive.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah. And to be able to have options to be able to give to your clients, and quality options, so that you can be ahead of the curve before these things start to happen or start to know what needs to take place, is the best thing you can do as a pool professional in the backyard. That's our job as a professional, is to be able to offer solutions to our clients and allow them to make the choice. And then pros, cons, or whatever it may be, and what U.S. Motors and what you guys have established or created with the Neptune motor is a very viable option for a lot of pool pros. And once we get into the details,
It's going to be
I think
huge.
you guys you're going to see it and realize it. And for all our folks outside of California, I think you're going to be excited to see this.
This is going to be new for all of them, right? And having to go through it and understand.
But what an opportunity, though,
No, it's
to
a
make
huge
a lot of money as well, right?
Yeah.
And then not just make money as a pool pro, as a business, but now you're going to be able to truly save. You're going to save your clients money and then get to benefit from these.
Wait for my final thoughts, because I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
I'm going to drop it there at the end.
it.
So let me ask you a couple things on the DOE, just really clarify for a lot of the pool pros out there. So the first round came, it was variable speed pumps just as the main pool pump. Is that correct?
Filtration system.
The filtration,
yeah,
right? So that's the one that had to be replaced. So if you had a pump for a water feature or you had any of that, that didn't matter, right? That just could be the single speed. So now with this new regulation, do all those pumps need to be replaced as well into the variable speed pump?
If we can't make a single speed for them to put on the pump,
You have no choice.
You've
have
got
no
no
choice.
choice, right? So anything single speed, and I'm just trying to clarify this for everybody out there, any single speed, they will just not make. They're done. They're gone.
Yeah.
In that horsepower range.
It'd be a gray market.
Right.
Maybe you have to smuggle them in from another country or something like that.
Let's
I guess
create a website,
it's worth
underground
it,
website.
Right?
black market.
Yeah.
Black market, right?
Black
No, there
market
are
pumps.
there are some exemptions to this and exceptions. Obviously, three-phase motors, which is a lot of commercial stuff. Those are exempt. Those aren't part of that law at all. If you're less than 1.15 THP, which you've seen a lot of pumps now have come out with ratings less than that.
Yeah.
If there's a motor that's rated less than that, it's still good. The only difference for us is that it has to be of a special design. It has to have a run capacitor in it. It has to be a PSC, as they call it, permanent split capacitor, or a motor with a run cap and a run start cap as well. And then, of course, there's motors that go in spas. Those are not dedicated pool pump purpose motors. Those are spa duty motors. Those are also an exception that are not involved in this. So if you're involved in any of those businesses, you're okay. You can still do those things, and they'll exist.
So what's the specific horsepower moving forward? What did you say?
1.15 total horsepower,
total horse.
all the way up to 5 total horsepower.
Okay.
Which, of course, most of the commercial is probably 3 and up. So there'll be some three-phase that'll be in there. But
Yeah, you don't get many. There's not many pumps out there or pools that you can run with a 1 horsepower pump.
And that's what I wanted to get at, especially for the pool pros, is look, don't try to go out there and go, oh, I'm just going to go cheap and go try to do this, because it's just not going to work.
And there will be some people out
They
there.
will.
It's like the stubbornness is. Look, the battle we had in California when it came to it, there were some people that were just stuck with, there's no need. I'm going to stick to my single speed. I'm going to stick to my single speed.
Yeah.
But they just didn't truly understand it. And I think, again, it was just a lack of education and just not really grasping the benefits, not only for you, right, as a pool pro, but also for your client. And that's our duty to give them that opportunity. And it's fascinating, but there will be people that are going to be fighting it tooth and nail to the very end.
I could tell you out here in Texas, you have conversations with pool pros, and Tim, you can tell me that this is wrong. I remember Justin calling me going, and he came from California. So he had a house and he goes over to sell them a variable speed. And he's kind of, and by the way, it wasn't required here, but he's trying to tell the customer, here's the benefits of it and blah, blah, blah. And the homeowners are like, run it at 34. Like, why would I want to run it slower? And he's like, well, you can save on energy. Pay 10 cents a kilowatt. Why would I run it? He goes, I want it to run high, period, end of story. And they just, even he had a hard time explaining to the customer as to why, but the mindset, at least what we see here, is bigger is better, right? Everything's always bigger and better in Texas, so go big or go home.
Yep.
You can still achieve the same flow and get the same turnover of a pool and by reducing the RPM. And it's all based upon the affinity law. And the third law of affinity deals with hydraulics, which says that if you cut your RPM by whatever percentage, it will exponentially save you less in operational cost. I did the math on just a generic here, but if you were running a 1725, 50% of your normal 3450, and ran that 16 hours a day as opposed to 8 hours a day, you would only pay $27 as opposed to $100. So you save 27% of the operational cost is what you pay if you just drop your RPM by 50%.
And you can run it longer.
And you can run it longer. It's the analogy I like for that, if I may, Edgar, is, if you put a single speed pump on for 8 hours a day, it's like walking out to a pool and throwing dollar bills into your pool for 8 hours a day. Whereas a variable speed motor ideally will run continuously 24 hours a day at a low flow setting and higher during certain periods. But that is like throwing pennies into a pool for 24 hours. After 24 hours, you've spent less in pennies than you did in dollars during the 8 hours with the single speed motor.
I like that.
I do. See, I'm a pool guy, but
we're
I'm
gonna
a
have to
pool
use
guy.
that. Yeah, we don't want to pick up the pennies. Yeah, I don't want to pick up the
my pool. You're adding copper. You're messing up my pool.
After 1983, pennies weren't made of copper.
That's true. That's true. But that's true. Wow.
Boom.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Look, for the pool pros out there that know the pain we go through when there's quarters or pennies or little rocks or whatever.
Little cars
on the bottom of the pool.
Don't try this in your backyard.
And you have to pick them up. The frustration is real, right? And anytime I hear them, like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Having to get those quarters and hit that with that net so it just hits just right and flips in.
Well, there are certain nets that you could get it from, but we'll talk in another conversation.
So,
is it red?
It would.
Yeah, it would be.
That's not good, right? Right.
Rabbit hole.
I wanted to jump on something else that you said too, Tim, and you were talking about, and Edgar, what you were saying as well about just, I want to run at 3450 and having it going full speed. But we forget the fact that we're trying to filter the pool. And just because you're running it fast, right, doesn't mean you're filtering properly. And the truth is, the low and slow going through that filter, you're going to catch more debris, you're going to catch more algae, the water's going to be healthier, you're going to save the life of your equipment, pipes, joints, heat exchangers, right? You don't get as much water erosion. Your filter media is going to be working more properly. There's just so many more benefits on top of that, aside from saving money and hidden costs that we don't necessarily tie into. We're running a pump, it's trying to match 90 gallons a minute through a 1.5 inch pipe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is not supposed to happen. So when we just don't see those hidden costs and what's truly happening, and by having that variable speed, there's just such a plethora of benefits that you get to have.
If I could give you the motor guy perspective here too, motors like to run. They like to keep running. So they don't like to be on for a few hours and then shut off for several hours. They don't want to start and stop. They want to keep going. So that running it longer, and there's myths out there about this. If I run my motor 16 hours instead of 8 hours, the life of the motor is going to be shorter. No, wrong. You want that thing to keep running as long as you can.
Yeah, we touched on that yesterday too. And I tell our clients, as a pool pro, you want that pool running constantly. And if we can have it running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's ideal. And I like to give the analogy to clients and say, hey, look, you ever seen a river with algae? You know, it's running water.
Yeah.
It's part of it. You need to have circulation. You need to have filtration. It's all part of it. And being able to have your pool run constantly is better for you and better for me. And it leads to just a better overall experience in the backyard.
Were you going to say something, Tim?
Hard to imagine he doesn't have something.
I was actually going to ask a question. From your experience in California, you talked about slow loading a filter. With a variable speed motor, when you're looking at your pressure gauge, how do you monitor when to backwash with slow flow? Is it a 2 PSI rise? Do you increase it to 3450 so you can see the normal 6 to 8 pound rise? What's your indicator to tell you to backwash a filter?
Good question. Again, in my area, so we're very market dependent. In my particular little world, I don't have one DE or sand filter on route. So I don't backwash.
Question is moot.
I don't.
Just to be transparent, I go high speed and just check into where
Do the
I
old
was,
way,
just the
right?
old way, right?
So,
Right, but
what we do with cartridges,
Yep.
right, is whatever our operating speed is at that we run our pool at based on how many turnovers or where we need to be at, whatever the starting pressure is. It's usually when it's 5 PSI higher than where we start with the clean cartridge or a new cartridge is where we will automatically do a filter clean.
Got it.
But we have it scheduled to where we do filter cleans every 4 months on our route. So we do them every 4 months, pretty much no matter what, unless it needs it sooner. And if it needs it sooner, it's because of reduced flow or lack of flow, or because our PSI gauge, or if the aging cartridges or elements are getting impacted and we need to replace them, then we'll do what we need to do. But that's how we go about doing it in our particular market.
Corey out here saying, I run them 24/7. If not, I drop them. They're customers.
Well,
And then he's at 95% DE. He's San Antonio.
excellent.
So,
yeah, and if you go 30 minutes or 45 minutes away from where we're at, it all starts being DE, and that's all that's there.
yeah, where I
And
was
some
at, I probably had one
Yeah.
cartridge,
Got it.
and I hated them.
Yeah.
John loves them.
No,
Go figure.
we had one account in some older areas in Palm Springs. We took over one. This was many years ago, and it was a DE. And I said, in order for us to take it, we have to put in a new filter system. We don't do DE. I'm not going to, for one account, start carrying DE and start doing this and doing that, whatever. So we put in a cartridge filter, and that's it. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Thank you for the answer.
No,
I
yeah.
just learned something, but rabbit hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tim, so what are you hearing from pool pros as far as like their acceptance or them adapting or embracing the change that's coming up? Are you getting pushback? Are you getting positivity from it?
To a point, everybody's accepting of the date. We've been out for a year and a half now, telling everybody it's coming.
Not a secret.
It's not a secret.
Yeah.
What's your plan? I don't care what your plan is. You can run with single speeds as long as you want to run with them. Be careful. There's a date code on every motor, and the longer you run with single speeds, you might run into a warranty issue. But whenever you choose to adapt to the variable speed regulation, we're here for you. We can train you and show you how we can be utilized in almost every backyard, whether it be a standalone application, working and mechanically integrating with old time clocks and freeze control systems, or working with anybody's RS-485 COM port and anybody's automatic controller.
So, what was the date again for that? It's the complete cutoff?
September 29th.
September. Shoot, that's right around the corner.
59 days.
59 days.
Is there a reason why they pick like a weird date like
I
that?
don't know.
It probably
Maybe it's one of those really intellectual people that they say, oh, if I say the 1st of August, nobody's going to pay attention because it's 1st. So let's pick the 29th.
Yeah.
And then just random.
maybe
Gets
so.
everybody's attention.
I think the distributors will tell you if they are open on Saturdays, if they just were open from 9 to 10, everybody would show up. But they're open till noon and everybody shows up in the last 15 minutes. So,
True that.
yeah.
True that.
Yep.
All right. Let's start talking about the Neptune.
Yeah. I think Tim got into some of the capabilities and the offerings. Typically, when you're replacing a motor or the back end, right, there's other options out there. Not many, but some of them don't have the capabilities that the Neptune has to offer. And I want to detail some of those things so that people understand, and the pros that are out there that currently already have automation systems or have certain maybe older systems, especially ones that are run on time clocks or that have booster pumps or that have their own special freeze control that's set up. And we were going in depth about this yesterday, and where to me, some of these things doesn't make sense, or it's foreign to me because I'm not familiar with it. In my area, it's more of a newer area, and we don't have many time clocks on the wall, right? Ours are mostly newer systems with automation already. And yes, there were plenty of variable single speed pumps that we still currently have or that are out there that we've replaced. But usually when it comes down to what you're going to replace, you want to find something that doesn't limit the capabilities of the current system, right? I think as a professional, and I was talking about it earlier, is that it's our job to be able to offer them all their options, explain what the benefits are to them. But more importantly, if you're going to be spending money to put something in, you don't want to limit them from what they're capable of doing. You want to upgrade them without sacrificing on capabilities. And that's where I really dig the Neptune motor, is because I had plenty of questions and I talked about plenty of different things. I said, how about this? How about this? How about this? And literally almost everything we talked about, when you replace that back end of the motor, it doesn't matter what system you have, what application it's in, how old or how new, right? You are going to be putting in a better motor with more capabilities and almost future-proofing it as well, because it's compatible with this day and age and technology and everything that's going around. So let's highlight that and really talk about it so that...
Can we break it down? Just obviously there's different markets, right? So where I was in Anaheim, it's all the older time clocks on and off kind of stuff. And then in other places you got automation. So what I'd like to do is talk about them in boxes so that we talk to each pool pro.
Interesting. Okay. I think I can do that. The Neptune is available in two different styles, square flange or a threaded shaft, C-face threaded shaft, round face. We have horsepowers from 165, 225, 270, and 345. Depending on which manufacturer's pump is out there, first and foremost, you're going to walk into a backyard and your first thing you're going to do is assess the situation. Is there a pump that can be replaced or needs to be replaced, or can it be repaired and upgraded? If it's an old pump, you need to put in a new pump. I'm out of the equation. But if it's a pump that you can still buy the seal plates, the impellers, the O-rings, the basket, it's a good opportunity to maybe upgrade them into a variable speed option by just removing the single speed or 2-speed motor off of that pump. And again, depending on the manufacturer of the pump, the style of the motor will be dependent upon the manufacturer that made that, whether it be square flange or C-face. With those four offerings, horsepowers in each style, you have the ability to do different types of installations. Standalone, which isn't connected to any type of time clock or automation. You have older time clock and mechanical integration, and that with freeze control potentially, depending on where you are in the country. And then you have automation systems. And what I have found, and you guys in California, you're in different pockets where pools were built during different years. But if I just used the Dallas-Fort Worth area for where we are right now, works in concentric circles from the center. The older neighborhoods will have some of the older time clock systems. And they'll probably be more single speed, which is the 165 or the 225 total horsepower replacements. And then as you move in concentric circles out from the center, you'll start seeing some automatic controllers, but with single speed pumps, right? And then as you get into further rings outside, you're going to have variable speed pumps, which will be more of the 270 and 345 total horsepower, with automatic controllers from the major manufacturers. So it's been fun to try to identify all of the different applications and be able to adapt to each of them to solve those problems that you think you might have with a variable speed.
And I don't think that's really unique to just the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but
That's everywhere.
everywhere it's got to be pretty similar. Some parts of the country, and we readily talk about this between us, some of the parts of the country, there's going to be a lot of standalone out there, and then there's others where there's going to be all automation. So we get that part. And I think the beautiful thing about the Neptune is it's ready to tackle each of those three situations. And I think that's kind of where you were headed. You want to maybe start out at the standalone and we work from there?
And again, like John's all automation. When I was doing pools, it was the opposite. I all had individual time clocks, most of that. And it's funny because you mentioned it, and especially out here in Texas. I talk about Justin's all Highland Park, Preston Hollow, all that. Houses are huge. They're multi-million-dollar homes, but they're all single speeds and not a lot of automation. They have the 2 time clocks that one of them has the freeze protection and stuff like that. Where you go, where I'm at, that's non-existent. It's all automation. It's all the latest and greatest kind of thing. And I want to talk about, because I think one of the things that I want to make very clear is you're grabbing a single speed pump, right?
Motor.
You're taking the pump.
He was right this time.
I was right this time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
See, he's jumping all over me already. But what I'm trying to get at from my application from my days is I can basically grab that pump that's there, and I'm going to change that motor with the Neptune motor, and I'm going to turn that pump into a variable speed pump.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that we haven't talked about.
Or at least
that
have
we
the
have
option to do. Right?
Or at least have the option to do that. That's an option to do. And that's what we're doing with the Neptune motors, is changing those into variable speed pumps and giving them the opportunity to do so.
Tim talked about when you go in the backyard as a pool service person, where you're assessing the situation, and we want to be able to send you back there with more than one tool in your tool belt. And the Neptune is that at least second or third tool that you might be able to come back with, and understanding what's back there. You don't always have automation back. You don't always have all these special features that are in the back. You might just have a single speed pump back there.
Yeah.
Remove that single speed motor off of it. Match up, obviously, the motor that should go in its place, depending upon the mounting or the horsepower. And let it be said here that if you go in the backyard and you find that 1 horsepower pump or 1.65 total horsepower, right? And all you've got in that truck is a 2.25 or a 2.7, you don't want to have to drive back to the distributor or wherever you go to get another motor. You want to get that job done now. I think you mentioned more service time, hourly rates that are added onto it.
Yeah. If you've put in the motor and you know what horsepower you need before you go out to a job, surely take that horsepower and don't spend any extra money. But if you had one of the largest horsepowers, let's say a 345 or 270, whatever the highest is that you would potentially run into in your market, if you had that on your van or your truck, there's an opportunity that without knowing what you're going to run into, you'll have a motor that will work, because you can always put a larger horsepower on a smaller, older pump, a smaller impeller, and there will be no problem whatsoever. It actually will underwork that motor, and the motor will have the potential of lasting longer. But the real point is, you did it the first time out to the job. You didn't have to drive back to the distributor, wait for the motor to come up, and drive back. And whatever your billable time is, you might be able to spend less than that on the more expensive motor and have it on your van than wasting that 2 hours going back and forth to try to find the specific horsepower for the application.
And that's dispelling another pool motor myth right there, right? You know, people always say, I can't put a bigger one on. I'm going to blow out my cartridge or my filter or whatever, and I'm going to be in trouble. That's not the case.
And I think to clarify that a little bit more, and I think that's where we talk about pumps versus motors, right? So if you are buying a 3.5 horsepower pump and you're trying to stick it on a pad that requires a 2 horsepower pump,
sure,
and the pipe is 2-inch pipe, you're not going to want to put a 3.5 horsepower pump, on a 1.5 inch line or whatever, because when you're replacing the pump, you're also replacing the impeller and then what water it's able to move. The current system that's there, and what Tim is getting at is that if it's and I'm just throwing out numbers here, but you're looking at a 2 horsepower pump and you have a 2 horsepower impeller. If you have a 2.5 horsepower motor, right, or 2.65 or 2.7 or whatever it may be,
larger,
you can put it there, and as long as you're still using that same impeller, it's only capable of moving that 2 horsepower's worth of water.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So you're not overworking the system. And I don't want anybody thinking that and going, oh, okay, we're just going to be shoving these bigger motors in a smaller system. And hydraulically, that is not sound. And that's not what you want to do.
Same impeller, hydraulically time tested and true. Yep.
And you still could run at 3450, just like the old single speed ran at 3450. 3450 is 3450. It's going to run the same.
If you got a bucket of water and you can move it 3,450 times, and that's all the water. That's all the water it's capable of taking.
Right.
That bucket, whatever it can hold, whatever that impeller can push, that water, that's all it's going to be able to push.
Absolutely.
But the difference now is you can, with a variable speed, ramp those RPMs and do different things in that single speed that was roaring at 3450 the whole time.
Yeah, you can make some adjustments.
And to take it a little further, and I know we might be going down another rabbit hole, but it's like the same mentality we use when it comes down to salt systems. So I got small pools that if I have a 7,500 gallon pool, sure, they make salt systems that are for 15K, right, or 15,000. We put the 40,000 gallon one in there because I don't need to run it as much. I can run it longer, and it lasts longer as far as hour-wise, and it's more dependable, doesn't need to work as much, and then the ill effects from it, I don't have to deal with as much as because it's not running constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. See, this is the geeky conversation we love. So appreciate that, Tim. Hey, guys, let's do this. Let's take a word from our sponsors. Before we go out there, I want to give a couple shout outs. Pete the Pool Guy, big shout out to you. Mr. David Jones, Vives Pools. Meats and Sweats, what's going on? Paratrooper, Penn Valley Pools, Legacy Spa, what's going on? Mr. Daniel Bodden is on there. Big shout out to you out there. And Peerless Pool Covers, Pool Envy, Mr. Victor Martinez is on there. Big shout out to you, brother. Nello's Pools, Dogman, what's going on? MTF Pools. Teresa, big shout out to you. Maria, big shout out to you as well. Panther City Pools, what's going on, Josh? Give me a call. Mr. Benny Romo, Willie is on. Big shout out to Willie out there. And Gosaya, big shout out to you guys out there. Hey, let's take a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll continue.
Hey Pool Pro, this is your chance to celebrate the best in the pool industry. Is there a pool pro, trainer, sales rep, or product that's made a real difference in your journey? Someone or something that goes above and beyond? Nominate them now for a Pool Nation Award at poolnationawards.com. Let's recognize the game changers, the innovators, and the everyday heroes who make our industry better. Your nomination could change someone's life. Nominate today. Go to poolnationawards.com. Nominations close August 6th. Hey, you pool pros. This is the year you change your pool business forever. Join us for a fully immersive conference that not only teaches you water chemistry and the hands-on day-to-day of a highly successful pool business, but how to make the most of your business and make money. Pricing, profit, cash flow, leadership. It's happening October 24th and 25th at the PSP Expo in Las Vegas. We've designed a powerful 2-day business track to help you build a smarter, more profitable company. Day 1, financials. Learn how to shift from technician to owner. Day 2, get expert knowledge about people and performance. From hiring and training to time management and accountability, we'll help you lead a team that drives results. Build a business you love.
Hey guys, let's be clear. These aren't just lectures. We're not here to hit you with a bunch of theory and then send you on your way home. We're diving into what your numbers are actually telling you about your business and how to build a team that takes the stress off your plate and makes your business more profitable. Visit poolspapatio.com or poolnation.com.
That's poolnation.com. We'll see you in Las Vegas.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. We continue our conversation with Tim and Jim. Tim and Jim. Tim and Jim.
Tim and Jim.
Jim and Tim. Tim and Jim.
Tim and Jim.
Tim and Jim. It just kind of hit me now. Tim and Jim.
Yep.
We've been working together for years.
I think it's because I've always say your last names, right?
Yep.
Jim D'Angelo and Tim Moore. And I'd never put those two quick together like that. Tim and Jim. So we are talking to Tim and Jim here with, John's looking at me like, what's wrong with you?
You're off the rails.
Rabbit hole.
I think he hit his head on the way out.
You know what it is I'll tell you,
Like
every
Tim
time.
and Jim, yes,
Tim
they
and
rhyme.
Jim. Tim and Jim. Yeah,
Start
it just
rapping
kinda,
for us.
yeah.
It just dawned on him.
Right, Tim and Jim. So whenever people call me, hey, I want to talk about the Neptune, well, you need to talk to Tim Jim.
It does sound like a cool barbecue joint. Though.
Right? Tim and Jim.
Jim's.
Yeah.
Tim and Jim.
No, I'm in for that.
We're in for that. They're going to start a side hustle now, and next thing you know, we're going to be doing training at Tim and Jim's barbecue. They're going to have a room in the back for, you pick up your barbecue here and you train how to install a Neptune over here.
Yeah.
And John, you know what the problem is you're too awake today.
It is. I'm feeling good.
Normally, just to let you know, normally John will show up at my house and he'll have bags under his eyes, and I'm like making him a cup of coffee, and he's drinking these energy drinks.
This is my friend.
And
friends like this.
He showed up at my house with donuts and good morning, sunshine. How you doing? And I'm like, wow.
I feel relaxed. I feel like I got some rest in, and it's amazing what 6 hours of sleep gives you, right?
I thought it was just the idea of talking about a Neptune motor.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Oh, we can hope.
Yes, exactly. No, it does get me riled up, though. And like I said before, we're passionate about this.
Yeah.
This is really good stuff. And I was having a conversation with Mama about this, and it's when you're in the industry or you're very accustomed to something, or it's been part of the lingo or language, a part of your everyday life for so long, and it has been variable speed pumps for us out in California. And when you hear it, it's nothing new at first, but you just got to step out and look at it holistically, see it as this is news. And the excitement that we felt and how we benefited as a company over the years with variable speeds. And I'll get a little bit deeper into it maybe later, but this is a pump. We're all about growing our pool pros, right? And then becoming very financially successful. That is one of our pillars, as one of the things that we put our stake in the ground.
Principle,
that's what we want, right? But at the same time, everything that we do, it should be done ethically. We're professionals in the backyard, and we are hired to take care of probably the biggest of investment they have for a lot of folks, especially for most homes. To put a pool in is not cheap, and to maintain a pool correctly isn't cheap either. And to hire a professional and have him trust us to not only be in charge of the health and safety of the people that are using it, which are often children and pets, family members, their lives are literally at stake. We're responsible for it. but we're also responsible for one of the biggest investments that they have. And as professionals, we need to be able to be cognizant of that, and we need to be able to offer solutions accordingly, and we need to be ethical about it as well. And when we're in the backyard, we've always prided ourselves, and when we teach people, it's if you're going into the backyard and something's wrong with the heater, and it's a simple part, right? You're going to fix it and you're going to do what you need. That's the ethical thing is, hey, look, we're going to fix it. We're not going to sell you a new heater. Okay. If it's only going to cost $300 or $400 or $500 to fix it when it's readily available to do, the ethical thing is that's your job and your responsibility, right? And anybody who does anything other than that, who's unethical and cheats people, that's a different conversation. Shame on you, right? And if something is working perfectly, you shouldn't have to replace it, right? But I think the variable speed motors and pumps are different, right? When it comes down to efficiency and being able to save, it's the only thing really on the pad that you can tell a customer, hey, look, this is working perfectly fine, but it is advisable and it is a smart decision for you to spend more money and get rid of this perfectly working pump. And let me explain to you the benefits of it and why you should spend money in upgrading. And I think introducing the Neptune, and again, not to harp on the same thing again, part of that is not to say, hey, look, I can upgrade your pump. We can save you a little bit of money, but you're going to lose all this functionality that you were used to or that you wanted or that you had based on your lifestyle. You like to be able to do this and do that or whatever. I don't think that's really upgrading. There's some sacrifices to it. But with what you guys have come up with is a solution, pretty much a one motor solution that gets rid of those issues and then also opens up the doors to some of the people who might not have $3,000-$4,000 to dump on a pump.
And there is a big market for that. There's a huge market.
And it's our job too, just because, there might be another pump that you can install that's $4,000, but some people just physically, they just don't have the money to be able to do it. And this rule is going to affect them, and they're going to be in a position
where they have to.
And it's our job, it's our duty, it's our responsibility to be able to have these options. And that's why I think I'm so excited about this.
And it's not good for our industry either, right? When you're having heaters cost $5,000, $6,000 put in and stuff like that, it really starts to take that image of that. And I've seen a lot more of it on social media where people are going out there complaining and screaming of how much this pool costs to do. That's not good for the industry, right? And so what you guys have done is it's amazing. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about the different applications.
Yeah, sure. First would be standalone, where you're not hooking up to a time clock or going to any automation system. We have on our keypad, on our user interface, is a readable LCD screen so that as you program it, you can see what you're programming and how you're programming it as you move through the menu tree. Our motor comes defaulted in a manual timer mode, which allows you to put in the time of day and set up to 7 custom RPMs and time durations for the motor to come on and off during that day period. You can adjust a temp sensor between 32 and 50 degrees, and you can make it do anything that you want it to do out in the field as a standalone. We have another standalone application where you can put it into a DOE mode. And when you do that, you need to put in not only the time of day so the motor knows when it's going to operate its schedule and such, but you're going to put in the pool capacity, which you can manually enter if you know how many gallons are in the pool. Or there's a calculator that width times length times depth and shape and average depth, it'll help you calculate the pool capacity. And then you're going to tell it what kind of pump you have on there and the GPMs. It can take that information and make a special program up to optimize all of the savings. And in addition to that, a lot of areas have electrical grids where you pay peak hours for certain electricity during peak hours. You can tell the programming that you don't want the motor coming on during the peak hours. You can also tell it that you don't want it coming on during certain hours of the day, whether if that motor's near your bedroom window or your office window or whatever. You put in all that information and then it self-programs itself. And if you don't like the way it self-programmed itself, you can still go in and edit the 4 speeds.
And it'll save those then too.
And it'll save those speeds as well. Right. So, and then you can, in both of those standalones, you can lock our keypad afterwards so that once you've made all of those fun adjustments and optimized, nobody can come behind you, a homeowner, a service or a maintenance guy at a commercial property or something. He can't come by and screw that up on you. It's locked.
Now, and that, just a quick note on that manual timer mode, that the motor does come with 3 pre-programmed settings. So you could simply set the time of day.
Absolutely.
turn it on, let it go if you're happy with them. If you're not happy with them, and as Tim suggested, go in through the menu tree. And like I said, everything's on that LCD screen. I will say that's somewhat intuitive. It walks you through at least the timer settings.
I like to say
It walks you through it.
user-friendly. Yeah, user-friendly.
So brand new pool guy, I go decide that I'm going to pull this motor in. I'm going to change this pump and turn it into variable speed. So I don't have to replace the whole pump. I'm converting it over to a variable speed. Your system comes with the keypad. It's not that I'm going to get the motor and then I have to buy the keypad separate. It's
Great question. Thank you very much for that. It's an integrated drive on top of the motor. Every motor has a computer, the user interface on top of it. And when you buy it, that's how you get it.
And the price that you showed me,
Oh, it's unbelievable. Look, and
the price that you showed me was with the keypad?
Yes.
with the keypad and the drive all built in.
Oh, shit.
And the price is, for those of you that haven't looked, check wherever your distribution is, whether it's Heritage, SCP, whatever,
Bay State.
whoever it is. Go take a look. I challenge you to go take a peek at the Neptune motor and see what that variable speed pump or motor, costs you compared to some of the others.
Huge.
Yeah, it is pretty
We don't
crazy.
talk about prices, but I'm telling you, go check right now because you're going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so that's the single, right? So
It's a standalone application. Yeah, using our LCD screen, you can program everything either manual timer or in DOE mode. The next application would be a lot of the older pools with the time clocks. Now, you don't necessarily need a time clock when you have a variable speed motor. You can still use the computer and the user interface and program everything, but there are some customers that like their time clocks. As Jim D'Angelo says, there are some old timers that like their old timers. And
Why does he say that and you look at me? He's saying old timer and he's like,
Well, it started by looking at me, so we should be looking out there.
I know. Jamie's sitting there quiet over there. I'm like, why aren't they looking at him? They're looking at me.
So we have on our board on the motor, we have a 6-block low voltage block. And let me move back just a little bit. I have a very good friend in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Casey Gardner from No Worries Pool Care, and he's been selling our motors for a number of years. And 3 summers ago, he opened up the motor, and that was before we had automation capability, so I didn't know much about the board itself and what was on the board, but he had opened up the top, and he's looking at the RS-485 4-block, and he's looking at this other block that has 6 pins on it, and he's thinking to himself, what the heck is that? So he calls me up, and he says, Tim, what is it? Casey, I have no idea, but I'll ask the question. So I asked Jim, he went to the engineers, and this is the answer I got. They're discrete inputs. All right, I said, I don't want to have to say discrete or indiscrete input to anybody in the pool industry. What is it really? Layman's terms here. And they said, it's a low voltage block. And I said, okay, what do we got here? And he said, there's a 12-volt output. There are 4 inputs that each have different RPMs associated with them. And then there's a ground on the very end. Okay. What is the capability, the full range of that low voltage block? Well, it's 9 to 30 volt AC or DC. Okay. And I called Casey back up and I said, Casey, this is what it can do. And he said, oh man, I think we can integrate a fireman switch, which is a micro switch that used to be sold with time clocks for heaters, right? We can integrate that into your motor utilizing this low voltage block because you have a 12-volt output. And he said, if you didn't have that, we couldn't do this. We need to supply energy to that fireman switch with one of the leads, and we need to bring the other lead back into the motor so that it can operate at one of those 4 predetermined input levels that each have different RPMs. The first one, input number 1's about 1400 RPM. The second one's about 1900 RPM. The third one about 2900 RPM. And the fourth one, of course, is 3450, and it's the default. I said, okay. He said, I'm going to go to work in my garage. Well, I'll figure it out. And he called me up that weekend and he said, dude, I've just proved concept on this thing. You can now integrate your time clock so that the homeowner can still go hit the toggle switch to turn it on at a higher speed for whenever they need to have it working, or we can still keep the trippers on there so that it still works as a single speed motor. And that's what makes the customer happy. So it gave him the flexibility to do that. Excuse me.
So just so you know where that board is found, on the top of our motor, there's a control box, right? And then there's a UI. There's 4 screws in the corner. You lift those 4 screws, set the cover off to the side. There's a high voltage compartment, which is where you would wire the power to it. And then there's a low voltage compartment, and there's a square board in there that's got these blue terminal blocks on it. At least today they're blue yet. And Tim is obviously talking about the 6-pin terminal block at the moment.
Yeah. And so now your time clock works again, because the reason it doesn't work is most pump manufacturers that are putting out variable speed motors right now will tell you that they want you to wire that motor line hot. They don't want it coming on and off every day. The motor has a computer on it. It's like your desktop at home. You don't want it de-energizing and energizing every day because it'll just wear out or have a problem rebooting. So while you wire it line hot, the motor might come down in speed or be off, but the computer stays on all the time. So you don't have that problem.
So take it a little bit further, because you showed the visualization or the actual setup on the videos we shot yesterday.
Yeah, those videos are good.
Now when you add some systems, especially up north, that have booster pumps or have pressure side cleaners as part of the equipment set, and they have 2 time clocks and booster pump, you're still able to make both of them work through this configuration. Can you go a little bit into detail?
Absolutely.
And how it helps out those types of clienteles?
Perfect. Thank you.
Clients.
Yeah, booster pumps, the 2 time clocks used to work together on the load side. But now your main pump isn't on the load side. Your main timer, everything's wired line. And you're now dependent on the booster pump timer staying in sync with the digital timer on my motor. And that's not a perfect world. You can repurpose that booster pump time clock with a fireman switch. Again, running it 12-volt power to the fireman switch and running the other line to one of my 4 inputs on the motor on that low voltage block. And now, anytime that booster pump comes on, it could be 2:30 in the morning and the pump's off and the timers are both way out of sync, but that energy to that time clock is going to send a low voltage signal, which will turn on my motor to that input in that RPM that you have it on, and it'll lock it in a manual override for as long as there's energy going to that time clock. It's not until the time clock, the booster pump time clock, will turn off that the energy, the low voltage signal, will be lost to the motor, and the motor will either go back into its regularly programmed schedule or off position wherever it was. Now, taking that even a step further, there are a lot of cities in the mid-Atlantic states, and from Dallas up to Wichita and across the whole middle belt of the country, we don't necessarily shut pools down, but boy, it gets darn cold for a number of days. And there used to be a lot of freeze control systems that were put on the wall that sit right next to those time clocks. They also work off the load side and are basically nullified as useless sitting there on the wall when you put in a variable speed motor. Now, every motor manufacturer has an internal motor protection, but nobody's RPM internally comes on at a high enough RPM. Ours will come on at 1725. And 1725 might be sufficient water flow if you're in Austin, Texas, and it gets cold. Or if you're in Tucson, Arizona, and it gets cold. But if you are in these cities where it gets cold for a number of days, if you've got a 50-foot run and a second skimmer that's on the north side of the house in the shade, you don't have enough flow going to that second skimmer. And so you really need to be able to repurpose that existing freeze control that's already sitting there and not working for you. You can isolate the 2 spades on the back of it, take the wires off of that thermostat, and similar to the fireman switches, you're going to run a 12-volt to one of the leads and one of the spades, it doesn't matter which one it is, and you're going to run the other one back to one of my 4 inputs. I recommend using input number 4 because that is 3450 and it would match exactly what you had on that freeze control system on the old single speed. And now, whatever time of day it is, if it goes below the threshold that you have that thermostat set at, the motor will get a low voltage signal. It will turn on and it will operate in manual override until such a time, whether it be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks later, when that temperature comes up to speed. And then that low voltage signal is lost and the motor will go back into its operating mode.
Yeah, and look, that was cool. And what was nice is you actually had the visual of it. So you're talking about the system that I've never seen before. I don't know. We have freeze control and it rarely ever happens. Like we were talking about earlier about backwashing. I'm like, I don't backwash. Where we're at, we don't do that. And when it comes down to freeze control, we have our automation, but I live in the hottest place in the world almost. And there might be one day out of the year, every 5 years, where we'll get a phone call from a customer that goes, my pump, something's wrong. My pump turned on for some reason at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just going on and off. You know, oh, dang it. I forgot to adjust or to whatever. For the freeze controller, I didn't let them know, or the new client, that we have our automation that kicks in and does that, and we're able to do that. But there are other homes out there that have these systems, and you showed it, and it was neat. And those of you, once we upload and we have that video for you guys to look at, but Tim brought a thermos, and it was very cold water in there, and he had the thermostat, and he just popped it in there and did what a thermostat did. And once it got to a certain temperature, felt the water was, it closed the circuit and allowed the signal to go through, and then kicked on over the pump to go to 3450, and all of that was there.
Yeah.
Where the pump was running at 900 RPMs. I don't know what it was running at, but it was running nice and quiet. And then as soon as you put it in there, about 3-4 seconds later, vroom, you hear it ramping up. As soon as you pulled it out, put your hand on it, warmed back up, it went right back down. And again, you're providing a solution, right? And you're not taking away, oh, here, let me upgrade. But now all these things that you're used to, now you can't do it that way. You have to do it this way. And now this on the wall that you had to protect your equipment from your pipes freezing and your equipment getting destroyed, you still have that capability without having to spend so much money.
All of our training opportunities that we have been conducting and will continue conducting have demos and live demos. So you can actually, you brought up a good point. I told you about it.
Yeah.
But you didn't believe it till you actually heard it and saw it. And
I believed you.
I understand. I know.
I had a little more faith in you.
With a grain of salt.
I'm a visual learner.
Once you heard it, and most service guys are exactly the same, and that's why we try to bring that type of setup to the training.
Yeah.
I saw it operate actually in air. I've seen this one many times in the bucket of ice, but I was setting up a demo in North Carolina in the spring, and I didn't even think about it. We're out in a dealer's garage, and they're setting up to show all of his people. And I'm setting everything up, and I'm over here doing something. All of a sudden, the motor turned on. And I said, "What did I do wrong?" He said, "It's cold in here," and it kicked on. Not that I wasn't sold before, because I've seen it in the ice, but this really did it for me.
So really quickly, we knew freeze control was an issue, and we knew we had the low voltage block, and we were working it with a fireman switch. And Casey and I had kept bantering back and forth. How are we going to solve this freeze control issue? And we were thinking, some of them, there are relays behind there, and maybe if we pull all the high voltage off of the downside of the relay, and we could repurpose one side of that relay as low voltage. And one day in particular, as I'm talking to him about it, I have another service guy here in the Dallas area that calls me, Charlie Benson. Shout out to you, Charlie's Pool Service. I said to him, "Hey, I'm just talking to another service guy trying to figure out this freeze control, and we're talking about the relays and maybe downside." And Charlie said to me, "Why don't you just go right to the thermostat?" And I went, "Holy moly. Could it be that easy? It's already sitting there and we can repurpose it." Anyway, I called Casey back. I heard the brakes on his truck lock up somewhere on 35E, and within an hour, he was in his garage sending me a video that he had proved concept that it would work. And that was just this past February.
Yeah. You know what's cool? And again, and I know we're starting to run out of time, and I want to get into one more, the other application,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And then get into how people can get support or get more information from you guys. But this goes into what Edgar was saying and what's so different. And we were talking about Nidec and how big of a company you are, but yet you take this information, you overbuilt a motor, you overbuilt a motor, right? And it had these capabilities, and it took a pool pro, Casey, to sit there and then figure it out and say, "Hey, I can make this work, and this works perfectly for what we're using it for, and it can do more than what you even thought it could do." And then instead of as a manufacturer saying, you guys take that and you embrace it and you run with it, and you take that feedback and go, "Look, this is real life applicable for us, and this can help solve problems and issues." And then you guys take that and you run with it, and it's rarely seen in our industry, except for like our partner, like Aquastar, for instance, right? How we talk about Aquastar and how they're able to do and move on a dime because they're a smaller and they're vertically built, and you know how Todd talks about it and what they're able to do. But it's refreshing to see that
at a big level,
you guys are embracing the feedback.
Now when the other ones tell me that they can't, I'm going to be like, no.
No, you can do it.
No.
So let's go on to the next application, right? When it comes down to someone like us, we are primarily automation, or that is something that the Neptune motor is capable of working with itself. So if you can kind of get into it for us.
Yeah, real quickly. So because we are running out of, real quickly is tough, but we work with any automation system that has an RS-485 COM port. Okay, if it doesn't have an RS-485 COM port, you need to probably give them an new automatic controller to talk to anybody's. That being said, there's 4 basic steps that you're going to take when you hook up to any manufacturer's automatic controller. On our board, there are 4 dip switches, and depending on the manufacturer, you will set those in a various pattern. On position is up, the off position is down, and again, based upon the manufacturer, it will vary. The second step that you're going to do is wire it up from our RS-485 to their automatic controller. Once you have the wiring done, I tell everybody to turn the power on. At that point, you'll go to the automatic controller, and you'll have to go to the settings and the filter, the pump that you are trying to program on that, and you're going to need to put it into the correct platform. That platform varies depending on the manufacturer. And once you've done that, you go back to our motor, and it's a pretty simple step. You go to the install settings, and past the time of day, there's a remote mode. You enable the remote mode, and you hit start pause 3 times after that. It'll flash remote mode, and now you turn all the power off. You turn all the power back on. The 2 systems sync up together, and now you basically have an aftermarket motor sitting on a pump that you've upgraded, and it thinks it's talking to the automatic controller, thinks it's talking to an OEM product. So whatever the capability of that automatic controller is, there are no limitations to what this motor can operate and do. So price point, going back real quickly, our price point on the motor with the whole drive, please check it out at your local distributor. Depending on the horsepower, it's probably somewhere between $500 and $700. That's correct. Probably between $500 and $700 for the motor and drive complete. And this one motor, standalone, old systems, freeze control, booster pumps are all optional, and all automatic controllers.
Fantastic.
Just absolutely mind-boggling. Hey, guys, let's do this. Let's take our final word from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll get some final thoughts.
Say goodbye to slideshows and lectures and hello to hands-on learning at this year's Pool Nation Conference. Real tools,
real techniques, real experience.
Join us October 24th and 25th at the PSP Expo in Las Vegas, baby. For 2 days of interactive sessions for real-world application. From equipment demos to workflow walkthroughs, we'll go beyond the basics so you can see it, touch it, do it. Master best practices with live demonstrations and practice using the tools and tech that power today's pool industry. Whether you're new to the trade or leveling up your skills, this is your chance to learn by doing, not just listening. Become an expert in business too, from technician to owner. This is the year you create a business you love in the pool industry.
Hey guys, these aren't lectures. They're real tools that you can take home and start using right away. From what your metrics are really telling you about your business to building a team that makes your life easier and your business more profitable. Register now for the Pool Nation Conference at the PSP Expo in Las Vegas. Visit poolspapatio.com or poolnation.com.
Head to poolnation.com to register now. We'll see you in Las Vegas, Pool Pro. Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. U.S. Motors Neptune Variable Speed Motor provides a versatile replacement solution for all your pool pump motor needs. This motor can communicate with pool control systems, provide low voltage options to work with time clocks, and can be installed as a standalone pump motor. The Neptune motor can be easily installed on existing pumps, upgrading them to a variable speed pump without the need for replumbing. Enjoy energy savings and quiet operation by installing a Neptune Variable Speed Motor today. For more information and to find your local distributor, visit usmotors.com/pool. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double-locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize Nidec, their exclusive industry-first technology. Nidec heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, Nidec creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/Nitec. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit Hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. We talked to Tim and Jim, which, by the way, somebody said on here, oh, that's catchy, that Tim and Jim.
Thank you.
So,
Tim and Jim barbecue.
Tim and Jim barbecue.
I do like that.
Yeah, what's going to happen is, here's what I want. Anybody that's listening, if you ever obviously go see Jim on the floor somewhere, just go, hey, Tim and Jim, how are you?
And then ask Jim about the barbecue story.
Yeah, the barbecue story.
The barbecue story.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the charcoal.
With the charcoaled hand, right? Right.
And it all makes sense.
Yeah, fingerprints on my bread.
Yep. So, anyways, John, I was going to let you do final thoughts, but we're kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that we want to talk about really quick before we end the podcast. And Jim, let me ask you, anybody that wants to get support, anybody that wants to get in touch with you guys, what's the best way for them to do it?
I would suggest the best way to go is to your local sales representative, wherever you are in the country. If you don't know who that is, then I would go to your distributor and find out from them as to who that is. But we've got reps across the country that can work with you and that are able to do all of this. So
Gotcha. And then what's the website?
I would suggest that we go to usmotors.com.
usmotors.com.
And everything can be found there.
Gotcha. And then, by the way, guys and girls out there, if for some reason you can't find it, reach out to me or John. We'll be glad to help you out and, kind of connect you with the right people out there. Anything else that you guys wanted to talk about? Hit on really
Tim,
quick before we
final
call
thoughts?
it. Tim, yeah, let's give Tim some final thoughts.
No, just
But you're on a time limit.
We only have 3 minutes, Tim.
3 minutes.
You got to give me 2.
thank you very much for your time. And when you leave any motor job, make sure you electrically bond the motor for safety purposes
Yes.
when you leave the job.
That is huge. That is huge. I will close it with one thing. And obviously, one of the things that we're seeing in the industry is this is another option that's out there for the pool pros, right? And we've talked about it a whole bunch of times. What I want everybody to understand is this gives you the ability to take that pump that's in that backyard that is not a variable speed pump, and it allows you to convert that pump into a variable speed pump. Okay. I want you guys to go look at the cost of this thing. And you were talking $500 to $700 on there, right? It comes with a keypad. It does everything that it says it does, right? And obviously, the biggest challenge that we're having in the industry is that we've got companies that are publicly traded. At the end of the day, I have to beat the numbers from the previous quarter. So what we've seen is what, John?
Yeah,
continuous price increases,
and making it.
It just hasn't stopped. And what's happening is a lot of pool pros are feeling that pressure. It's hard to go to a customer and say that heater costs $5,000 or $6,000, where 2 years ago it was $3,000, right? And variable speed pumps and all these other equipment. This gives you another option. And just like John was saying, you might be in a market where the customer can't afford to spend $3,000 on a variable speed pump, right? Now, we're not telling you guys to go out there because this is cheaper to do it cheap. That's not the point that we're making. The point that we're making is that this gives you a completely different option for you to go into that customer, into that backyard, and give them a solution to the problem that they're having.
If the customer only pays half of what they would for a whole pump, their return on investment is twice as quick as buying a whole pump.
Absolutely. And we are going to put some videos that we recorded yesterday. They're going to be on the Pool Man University. I suggest that everybody go out there in about 2 weeks and go out there, watch those videos. You're going to see, I've encouraged Tim to come back because we're going to reshoot some of the stuff. We're going to get a little bit more detailed with some other camera angles and stuff like that we're going to do. So we are going to reshoot them, but get out there, check them out, and just like John was saying, I really suggest go out there and check this price point. Go,
learn, educate yourselves, offer the solutions to your clients, and become more profitable and seize the opportunity. This is an opportunity for every pool pro across the nation right now, and it's happening no matter what. Arm yourself with education and the knowledge and go out there and get it.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Come back and catch me and John next Wednesday on the Instagram Live. Are we giving away anything?
I don't know.
We went crazy.
Give away a Neptune.
Maybe we'll give away a Neptune. Last week we gave a whole bunch of stuff away. So hey, to all the people from the boot camp. So anyways, come out and join us. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Pool Nation podcast, a member of the Pool Nation family. You can listen to us live every Friday here at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can find us at Pool Nation or poolnationpodcast.com, on Facebook, or on Instagram at pool.nation. And to find more info about Pool Invoice, the billing software built specifically for the pool industry, go to poolinvoice.com. Before you go, this is what the pool industry has been waiting for. PoolmanUniversity.com. It's the first platform dedicated to learning the swimming pool service and repair industry. A pool service community where you can connect and find videos on business, service, water chemistry, and repairs. See you there at PoolmanUniversity.com.